Hey guys, welcome to Travel Chapel. Today we're going to be talking about order out of chaos. As my personal experience as a professional baseball player, I know at times life feels chaotic and out of control. There were times where I would be struggling massively at the plate and just could not figure it out. I didn't know what I was doing wrong. I wish it was just something super simple, but rarely was it. And at times it really got into my head. And it just felt like this slump or this way of playing poorly was never going to end. And there was a couple of times, even in my career, which I started with the Atlanta Braves, where I got sent down. There were times where I was released or traded. And that just made life feel even more chaotic and confusing. And there was just so much uncertainty at times. And when those moments are happening, it almost feels like there's a darkness that's going on. And I'll tell you, when I got released, especially my first time, it felt like a death. I thought I was going to play for the Atlanta Braves for my entire career. I thought I was part of the family. And so at the end of spring training in 1999, when they told me they did not want my services any longer, I had to go home for 2 weeks and just wait on a team to call. And it did. It felt like death. It felt like the Braves just kicked me out, and I just sat at home, just scared, confused, and I didn't know if my career was gonna pick back up. And it's in those moments of feeling kind of hopeless and like nothing is going to change. Again, the fear and the uncertainty that's going on inside of us. It's definitely scary. There was also times in my career where I had injuries. I've had multiple surgeries on my right knee, 2 ACL reconstructions. I had a torn labrum in my right shoulder that required surgery. And even in those moments, you have the surgery because you have no choice, but you aren't sure if you're going to come back and be the player that you were before you had the procedure done. And so at the end of my career, it was my second ACL reconstruction. That pretty much ended my career. I was getting close to the end anyway, but after that, I wasn't able to return to playing the way I was capable of before. And that was it for me. And so again, those times, each moment of confusion and chaos and uncertainty, and it's these moments also where I feel like you're in a wilderness. It's the Lord who takes you into this wilderness or allows you to be in it, where you feel alone and confused, and you have no idea what's next. And so if you've ever felt that way, if you've ever felt alone and scared and confused, if your playing isn't going well and you're not sure if that's ever going to fix itself, or you don't know what your future is going to look like, which is so common, you're not alone. You are definitely not alone, and I'm sure a ton of big leaguers would say the same thing. They've been through it, and they know what it feels like. And so again, this message is called Order Out of Chaos. Our God is a God of order. He's not a God of confusion, and He's not a God of chaos. And so at one point in their history, the nation of Israel was living in chaos. They were slaves in a foreign land. The Egyptians were their taskmasters, forcing them into this lifestyle. They didn't know one day from the next. All they knew was slavery. And they were being held as hostages, again, by a more powerful nation than they were. And there was a moment in their history as well where, as they were growing into this nation, Pharaoh ordered that they kill all their firstborn children, all their firstborn males, actually. And so God uses this moment, and He uses Moses to communicate to them what kind of God He is. And so God, knowing what's going on, it says that He hears and He sees what's going on with the nation of Israel, and then He moves into that chaos. He reaches out to Moses through the burning bush, and He has a conversation with Moses and saying, I know what's going on with my people, and I want to bring them out of this land. So Exodus tells us that God saw Israel's situation as slaves in Egypt, and He remembered them. And He remembered His promises to Abraham. And so when the Bible tells us that God remembers something, it means that God is going to act. And that's exactly what He does. He acts and moves into this situation. And so in Exodus chapter 6, verse 7, it says, I will take you to be my people, and I will be your God. And you shall know that I am the Lord your God, who has brought you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians. And so God moves into this chaos, and He powerfully liberates them. He destroys their captors and their enemies, and then he leads them out of Egypt through the Red Sea, but into the wilderness. Now, this is not the ideal setting for the people, at least in their minds, but it's the perfect setting for God. You see, the Israelites have just seen God act and demonstrate his power, but they don't really know him. Their lives have been so chaotic that they actually couldn't even hear him. They didn't know that he saw their situation, and they didn't know that he cared until he shows up and does something about it. And so the desert wilderness is a place that we all go at times in our lives. A lot of times it comes after chaos, and we don't like it at first. We don't like feeling alone and being in the middle of nowhere and not sure if God is present, and yet he is, and it's in the wilderness where we get to know God in a better way. And so it's here that God tells Moses to write the book of Genesis. So Moses is the author of Exodus. He's also the author of Genesis. And he's writing this message from God to the people. Again, they're recently freed, but they don't know who they are, and they definitely don't know their origin story. And so the beginning, this is what Genesis is called. It means the beginning. God is going to allow them to understand how everything came to be and really who they are as a people. And so the first words again are in the beginning, but then it says God created. He was there in the beginning. He actually began the beginning for mankind. But it tells us that the earth is formless and void, that there's darkness over the face of the deep. Right? And so the Spirit of God, though, it tells us, is also hovering over this dark water and over the deep waters. And so even in this beginning, where God is starting with this formless blob of dark and deep waters that's dangerous and chaotic and uninhabitable, right? It's full of death, metaphorically. God is going to move into it. In fact, he's already there. The Spirit of God is hovering over it. And so, again, for us to remember, God is not absent in the darkness. He's not absent in the chaos. He's not absent in the places where we feel like we're in danger or death, actually. But he's ever present. And so when it feels like darkness and death are all around us, our circumstances are making us feel like the situation is dire, it's hopeless, that we're going to drown possibly in these deep waters. God is there with us. He's always there, and he cares. And so Jesus promises, too, that he'll never leave us or forsake us. He'll never deny us. He'll never cast us aside. He is always going to be with us. So I don't know where you feel like this, if you feel like it at home or if you feel like it at school, possibly you feel like it on a baseball field. I'm not sure. But just know that God is close, and he's ready to bring order for you and for you to know him better. So in regard to creation, what does God do? Well, he goes through these steps where he systematically changes the chaos and brings order, the darkness and he brings light, and where there's death, he brings life. He speaks and he reveals, or again, brings these things into existence, things of order and things of beauty. He says first, let there be light, and there's light, and that's on day one. He creates the skies above the waters, and then he creates dry land in the midst of the waters, and those are days 2 and 3. These are now realms that are set apart, areas that are ready for life. And so these realms are holy. Again, they're set apart for God and for his good purposes, which is light and life. On day 4, he fills the heavens with the sun and then the moon and the stars. And again, the moon and the stars are the light present in the midst of darkness. In day 5, he fills the air and the water with birds and then fish. And then on day 6, he creates animals. And then ultimately, he creates mankind. So God is the author of life. And he's the God who moves again into this chaos and brings us into the wilderness so that we can know him. But the purpose is to bring life and not death. It's to bring light and not darkness. That's always his purpose. So again, if you're struggling, if you're in chaos or wilderness, turn to him. He's close. He sees and he knows. And you too are ready to be filled. You are a holy vessel, someone who's set apart for God and his good purposes. And so as he wants you to know him better in the wilderness, and he wants you to understand who you really are, he has good things for you. But in those moments, again, where it feels dark and chaotic, he wants to fill you with light and life and his presence so that you can know him. And God is ready. He's always ready for you to know him better and to not live in the chaos in the wilderness. But when you're there, again, it's a place where you can actually hear him. So that's my encouragement. If life is chaotic, if it is feeling off and you're out of control and you don't know if things are going to change, don't panic. Don't think that there's despair and that things won't change. Just know that God is close. He's brought you to this place and he's ready to meet with you there. God bless.